Khabib Nurmagomedov and Artem Lobov had a showdown at the UFC hotel in New York before UFC 223. Many point to the drama between the Russians as the trigger for Conor McGregor's dolly-whopping of a bus Khabib was on later that week. Many ask for analysis of the Russian kerfuffle. Let's give it a look.
Begin with the proof.
Hello, I'm Cavassier the goddamn Newt. As the footage starts, we see Khabib Nurmagomedov and his confederacy of loyalists have Artem Lobov surrounded and trapped against the wall. Khabib is running the show here. He gestures with authority and an expectation of compliance. Khabib's a boss. The entire drama between Khabib and Artem unfolds in 1 minute and 40 seconds of footage, but a lot happens. Psychologically, it's a dynamic situation. I think it's helpful to conceptualize what happens as 4 connected but distinct iterations rather than a single episode. First is this dynamic. Artem is alone and pinned against the wall. There's one UFC PR guy attempting to keep Khabib and his crew at bay. Khabib is fully in control of the situation. His guys have Artem treed and helpless. Next, a second official with UFC steps in to help. This guy has one focus, and that's getting Artem safely away from Khabib. As Artem is shuttled down the hallway, Khabib and his band seem a bit disheartened. They expected Khabib to produce some kind of resolution. With that opportunity lost, they shuffle off glumly. Then, for some reason, Khabib turns a 180 and starts walking back towards Artem. His blinkered and surly flock follow in lockstep. It looks like this iteration is Artem's idea. Look at their positioning. The 2 UFC officials stand back to allow Artem and Khabib to handle the issue themselves, like adults. I assume Artem asked them to back off so he could clear the air with Khabib. Why else would they allow Khabib to return and stand back while Artem and Khabib talk it out? The problem is Khabib's guys can't hang back and chill. They gotta get right in Artem's face. I don't know, do they have so little respect for Khabib that they think he's unable to stand up for himself against Artem Lobov? Do they really believe Khabib requires this kind of direct assistance from a dozen goons just to talk with Artem? It doesn't make sense to me. And this begets the 4th and final iteration. As the Dagestani crew press in, Khabib grabs Artem by the back of the neck. This show of physical force by Khabib breaks any agreement to behave honorably. Anonymous dude asks, did Khabib put his hand on Artem's shoulder to demonstrate authority? Good question. Khabib disregards basic civility by reaching out and clutching Artem by the back of the neck. The UFC guy and Khabib's manager have seen enough. As they step in to break it up, Khabib suddenly decides to clout Artem upside the head with a decent blow, while Artem is defenseless. Ali takes it upon himself to completely remove Artem from Khabib's proximity. Makes me wonder what Ali knows about Khabib that he doesn't even attempt to reason with him. In hindsight, it seems like the smart move. Look, I understand that some people consider this a cheap shot from Khabib. They make the argument that using 12 guys to gang up on Artem while he's alone makes Khabib a coward and a bully. But how does that make any sense? Anyone who's ever listened to Khabib talk knows what a sincerely devout and humble person he is, who acts as humble as Khabib after a victory. I can't think of anyone. You can't be humble and real and also be a coward and a bully. After Khabib hits Artem, UFC guys and Ali break it up for good. You can't have your headliner knocking around a smaller guy from the undercard. And with that, Khabib and his crew wander off. But not before a portion of the rabble gangs up on some other guy, trapping him against the wall. Ali has to hustle in and berate Khabib's guys until they reluctantly let him go. Jeez. Jesus, you gotta stop letting yourself in like that. I get it. You want to tell your Artem story. You're actually right on time.
Hold up, dog.
You want an introduction?
Oh, like hard.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeet.
Ladies and gentlemen, former UFC fighter, now self-styled impresario of the internets, Mr. Subtle himself, the Braunschweiger. Also, he's my neighbor.
Yeet.
The floor is yours.
Yeah, okay.
Braunschweiger, one thing, keep your boots off the furniture, and for the love of Christ, don't lay on the couch again.
Of course.
You say of course, but I'll be the one trying to scrub the metrosexual off the goddamn thing for a week if you forget.
I did not know that.
It's all good. Just keep from befouling the upholstery.
I don't have a problem with it.
Good. How about your Artem and Khabib story?
This starts prior to that.
Of course it does.
This starts before Artem got slapped in the Fighters Hotel. Artem did an interview in Russia. And in that interview, he was talking about how Conor's the real champ. Conor's been hurt before fights. He's basically fought with one leg and he still fights. And Khabib's not a real champ. He's not the same type of fighter that Conor is. So he does that interview. And then he goes out in Russia. I think it might have been Dagestan.
Probably not Dagestan.
No one knows.
Well, it's your story.
So he goes out, and he goes out with another fellow Dagestani who is, I don't know how he's associated with Khabib's camp, but he's, you know, he knows them or they know each other. They're out at a nightclub, and some of Khabib's supporters see this Dagestani with Artem. Obviously, Artem is viewed as a traitor. So they tell that guy who's with him, "What are you doing, man? Get him out of here." And he sticks up for Artem. Chill. 2 days later, 3 Dagestanis show up to that man's house and beat the shit out of him with chains, shoot him with a rubber bullet in the chest, and do him dirty. There's video of this, and it's pretty gnarly. Fast forward to the week of the fight. The fighters at the Fighters Hotel. Artem and Khabib see each other for the first time. Khabib comes up to him. What Khabib is so upset about is the interview that he did, saying Khabib's not a real champion, Khabib's not a real fighter, Conor's the truth, all that stuff. And you can see you can see Artem kind of being like, "Nah, I didn't say that." Like, he wasn't like, he didn't want none. You know, he saw he was outnumbered. He didn't want none because he knows what happened to his buddy back from the club, right? So he's like, "No, it's all good, it's all good." But he slaps him, it's disrespectful.
What's the takeaway?
I don't know. It's a tricky situation.
Okay, cool. I should probably finish the show.
Again, I don't come up with this.
That's right. Well, thanks for all the...
All right, man.
And there goes the Braunschweiger. Not exactly a man of exquisite detail, that Braunschweiger. Here's what I found. This is Razul. He's the guy at the club in Moscow with Artem. 4 or 5 guys come up to their table and want to teach Artem a lesson for disrespecting Khabib during the Russian interview. Razul stood up and didn't let them take Artem outside. Later that night, Razul was jumped by the same guys in the club's bathroom. But Razul's a veteran of the Russian professional MMA scene, so apparently he ended up getting the better of Khabib's buddies in the scrap. They needed to be rescued by several bouncers. A few nights later, the same guys dropped by Razul's apartment with an assortment of tools. Not a pretty scene. Razul believed they were only there to teach him a lesson for interfering with Khabib Nurmagomedov's message to Artem. Razul publicly confirmed the identity of this guy. Kamil is known to be a close friend and longtime associate of Khabib's. Yeah, that's heavy stuff. But it is Russia, so who knows exactly what happened and why. I'm confident the usual gaggle will get to the bottom of it once they get the chance to ask a few questions.
There's an incident with Artem Lobov and a few of your teammates. Can you comment on what happened during that incident?
Nothing happened.
There was a video of a confrontation. How did that come about?
I don't see this video.
Remember, this isn't supposed to be easy.